Doctor Who has to be Britain's greatest export, running second only to the thoroughly irreverent sketch comedy show Monty Python's Flying Circus. The long-running science fiction television series delighted millions since its debut in 1963, and while the special effects might not ever reach the heights of its storytelling, the show continues to be a cultural institution. I am more intimately familiar with Doctor Who's revival in 2005, which starred Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor, a humanoid alien armed with wit, intelligence, and a time machine that looks like an old police box. What began as a, let's see what this is all about situation turned into an overnight obsession, and before I knew it, I had joined the ranks of Whovians, dishing on my favorite Doctor the same way people battle over Kirk and Picard. Doctor Who: The Edge of Time is a cinematic VR puzzle game that casts you as a temporary companion for the Doctor in an adventure that involves saving the universe from total annihilation. The concept alone is enough to inspire excitement. A Doctor Who production built using the immersive power of virtual reality? Sign me the hell up! A straightforward, synergistic adventure that will take an hour or two to finish, The Edge of Time is stuffed with enough callbacks, winks, and nods that'll cause any Whovian to shout out with glee. However, even though it's one of the better Doctor Who games, the PS Vita game The Eternity Clock did little for me, and the LEGO Dimensions theme stage was cool, it's clear that The Edge of Time struggles to keep itself running smoothly. The Doctor's adventures are always shown through the eyes of seemingly mundane people who aren't particularly special. And that goes double for the player. A normal day in the laundromat is disrupted by a strange time distortion that throws you in and out of an alternate timeline, a vision of Earth conquered and controlled by the Daleks. I mean, who else? Some unknown force is causing time to skip back and forth, and the Doctor, modeled after actress Jodie Whittaker as the character's latest iteration, knows exactly what's going on, but needs a helping hand. After fiddling around with some old tech, the TARDIS materializes into reality and whisks you away just as a Dalek ship arrives, ready to vaporize their enemy's flying machine. Communicating with the Doctor on a fairly minimal level, she entrusts you with a mission to acquire 3 time crystals that lie in different points of time and space. Finding the time crystals is a flimsy but functional excuse to get you to different stages with a modicum of Doctor Who flavor and complete a series of interactive puzzles. Beyond the main story, there's really nothing that connects the 3 standalone areas together, which allows The Edge of Time to indulge with we don't have to justify encounters featuring classic Doctor Who villains, most notably the Daleks and the Weeping Angels. The game requires 2 PlayStation Move wands to double as hands that let you grab, push, and pull objects any way you need in order to solve a puzzle or simply move around a level. Given this level of interactivity, each area lets you pick up and look at various things, although many of them are simply used as set dressing and bear little importance on the task at hand. The sonic screwdriver, the Doctor's classic multi-tool, falls into your hands and is useful in engaging with locks and doors that might need a little extra help opening up. I'm not sure if Maze Theory was deliberately trying to recreate the experience of the Doctor scooping up companions when they least suspect it and throwing them to the lions, but The Edge of Time does a fairly substandard job of introducing the player to the game's mechanics. When the game gets going, you're put in the position to pick up and use objects in an elementary fashion, installing a fuse here, punching in a code there. There is no elegant way of doing these things because everything feels clunky and unrefined, almost like this was a first-run Kinect game. I found myself fumbling into interactions and puzzle solutions because most elements, like rotating a surface table and trying to push some buttons, can get really frustrating because the objects stubbornly don't respond to your touch. There are different control schemes available, allowing sensitive and seasoned VR players to customize their experience to the most comfortable as possible, be it teleporting to move around a stage, or enabling smooth turning instead of snapping to 45-degree angles. No amount of tweaking can make the game feel like it can keep up with the player's demands. Simple tasks like opening the doors of the TARDIS can take anywhere from 3 to 4 attempts because the game is unable to recognize and react to my virtual hands so that the object highlights white, indicating that it can be grabbed and manipulated. When faced with a sci-fi version of the classic mirror puzzle, I knew what I had to do to complete it, but for some reason I couldn't align the object the way I needed to trigger the solution. After stepping away for a minute to think, I returned to the puzzle which suddenly had no problems with me aligning the element with the precision I needed. One of the more annoying things was how the game would replay entire lines of dialogue as I tried to work through puzzles or even just try and find an exit. The first area ends with you having to flee a spaceship, but the door leading to the way out wouldn't open even after the character spoke all of their dialogue twice. Then the screen went black for a few seconds and I found myself teleported to the next hallway. There's a lot of VR jank to contend with, and none of it is particularly enjoyable.
You were originally
For all the thrill promised in a Doctor Who adventure, The Edge of Time often brings things to a crashing halt, forcing the player to sit through load screens that are just long enough to make you wonder if the game has gotten stuck. And they always happen at the worst possible times. Dialogue often gets cut off in the rush to load the next area, and it hurts those few moments where characters make emotional appeals to the player. Long load times are tedious and happen frequently, but it's all the worse during the third act, where patrolling Daleks can kill you in one hit if you get too close or cross their line of sight. And even though they kill you instantly, you still have to sit through a very slow-moving death scene where the screen fades to red as the alien continues to shoot you. The stealth sequences in the Dalek stage are really bad, shoehorned into a game that can barely handle you trying to spin a rotating plate. To be nice though, if there's one thing the game absolutely does right, it's the level involving the Weeping Angels. In fact, I'd almost say that this stage is worth the frustration experienced through the rest of the game. I thought these things were terrifying in the TV show, being creatures that couldn't move as long as you kept an eye on them, and facing these things in VR is a nightmare scenario brought to life. Trapped inside a crypt and having to restore power to the only elevator is bad enough, but doing so while trying to keep your eyes on angels that advance their position every time you look away had me sweating and freaking the hell out.
The lift has powered up, but the system needs a moment to reset. Keep your eye on the Angel. We're nearly there.
Doctor Who: The Edge of Time has some fun ideas and offers fans a great opportunity to go on a time-hopping adventure with the greatest alien hero television has ever seen. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite feel ready for prime time, nor is it optimized well enough on the PlayStation 4. It bugs me that Maze Theory spent the time to construct elaborate areas but didn't bother to render the player characters' hands so that they don't look like something out of The Lawnmower Man. Jodie Whittaker, on the other hand, reprises her role as the Doctor with all of her cheerful enthusiasm and infectious optimism. The Edge of Time has all the flavor of a Doctor Who production, but more time spent cooking in the TARDIS would have gone a long way to make it far more stable. DarkStation gives Doctor Who: The Edge of Time for the PlayStation VR 3 stars.